The embargo has finally lifted, and today we are going to show you what AMD has to offer with their new Zen 4 or Ryzen 7000 series desktop processors. Before we move into the performance numbers, here's some quick recap for the Zen 4. Finally, LGA moving away from PGA, so you don't have to worry about CPU sticking to the bottom of the cooler when you remove it. Then, new architecture and improved power efficiency, of course. AMD also fully commits to DDR5 PCIe 5.0 support. What's next is the boost up to 13% IPC improvement, as much as 29% on single core performance, including the new AVX 512 computational capabilities on the Zen 4s. Big frequency gain over 5.0 GHz, notably the Ryzen 9 7950X that can go up to 5.7 GHz easily on one or two specific cores for the extra boost in games, which you will see later. Alright, there's one more. The Zen 4 CPU now comes with an integrated graphics. Yes! Which is a light-duty RDNA 2 graphics capable of AV1 decode, H.264 and H.265 decode and encode capabilities. Now that you have some idea on what AMD is bringing with their new Zen 4 processors, let's take a look at the performance numbers right now. For our test this time, we're using the Ryzen 9 7950X, and you can refer to the rest of the components used in this test somewhere around the screen. As we are still in the process of exploring DDR5 memory overclocking on Zen 4, DDR5 6400 CL32 is the highest we're able to get at the moment, but for the test, we'll still go with the DDR5 6000 and CL30 using the G-Skill Trident Z Neo provided by AMD with a slightly tightened memory timings. And with that slight optimization, we're able to achieve slightly lower latency at 60 ns or nanoseconds as compared to the 65 nanoseconds from the AMD Expo kit itself. The same timings can also be achieved with other AMD Expo certified memory kits like what we have here, the Kingston Fury Beast RGB DDR5 6000 CL36 kit. We have also tested system using an existing JEDEC DDR5 kit, and it works, but optimizing it will take a bit more effort compared to an AMD Expo certified memory kits. Now, starting off with the game performance. For games that are more CPU bound like Far Cry 6, Shadow of the Tomb Raider, and Division 2, the performance gain on 1080p resolution is the most noticeable, of course. We can see a performance uplift of up to 24% against the Ryzen 9 5950X and up to 6% against the already powerful i9 12900K. And I think that's a really impressive feat that AMD has managed to pull off this time. Even for games that are more GPU bound, we can still see a reasonable gain between 8 to 15%. If you have a much more powerful GPU on hand, you're going to get an even better performance numbers than what we have right here, because we're using a Radeon RX 6700 XT. And with our slightly tweaked memory settings, some games will benefit from it and some will not really show much of a difference. For games that do, the improvement can be seen on the 1% low. This basically means smoother gameplay and consistent frame time across the game. So gaming performance, yeah, Zen 4 is definitely taking a lead on this one. Now, moving on to the productivity test. This is pretty much what AMD always boasts on with the crazy high cores and threads counts on their Ryzen CPUs. Dealing with plenty of compressed archives, no problem. Our benchmark shows that the 7950X can handle compressions almost twice as fast as the 5950X and 31% faster than the 12900K, while compression is about 35% faster than the 5950X and almost 80% faster than the 12900K. But as soon as we did benchmark that focuses on content creation tasks such as photo editing, video editing, and rendering works, the 7950X as easily tops the chart in our benchmark against both the 5950X and 12900K. After seeing the benchmark numbers, I'm just like, wow, 7950X is pretty much crushing everything that is in its way, well, in a good way. And now for the power draw and thermals. Is it hot? And is it drawing a lot of power? Yes, of course, if you're going to fully utilize all the cores and threads at all. It is a powerful CPU to begin with, anyway. The 7950X has a rated TDP of 170 watts and a max socket power of 230 watts. Unlike the Ryzen 7 and 5, the Ryzen 9 here is meant for those who will really need all the cores it has. I recommend using an AIO cooler with 360mm radiator for this one, but if you don't have any of those fancy coolers, you can always make use of the AMD Eco Mode, which lets the 7950X operate at only 65 watt TDP. Even with this limitation, the chip is still capable of performing on par, or if not, better than the 5950X at uncapped TDP. As shown during the launch when we attend that in the US. Think about it, 65 watt versus uncapped. That's a lot. Well, I don't know in what circumstance you will want to do that, but you can't deny that that is some crazy power efficiency right there. And if you do have a reasonably powerful AIO cooler for the 7950X, you can even explore the PBO settings in the BIOS for best performance out of it. In our test, the highest load we observed so far is at 218 watts, with the highest load temperature hitting 95. Well, that's only for real bench, and it's for fun. And one thing to take note is that we are using an older model of the Cooler Master ML360R AIO cooler. AMD did claim that older coolers will be compatible on AM5 as well, and this proved that they are correct. 45 degrees Celsius for idle temperature may be high, but in most use cases, the 7950X barely goes above 90 degrees Celsius during our productivity benchmarks. And with our games benchmark session, the CPU load temperatures is even lower, mostly hovering around 70 degrees Celsius range. And yes, so that's everything we have for you as of now with the Ryzen 9 7950X. But here's the age-old question. Is it really worth your money? Well, I'll say that's totally depends on what you are currently using right now. Upgrading to Zen 4, it's the same as upgrading to the Intel 12th Gen because you will need a new motherboard for it. Since AMD is fully committed to DDR5 this time, the cost might be higher since DDR5 RAMs are, however, more expensive. Though AMD seems to be better in terms of the optimization out of the box, even though it's their first time getting onto DDR5. For AMD Zen 3 Intel 11th Gen users, I probably won't recommend it because they're still pretty powerful and will probably last for quite a while. And as for those who are coming from the AMD Zen 2, Intel 10th Gen or lower, yes, I would recommend the upgrade. While the price is steep, $699 for the Ryzen 9 7950 alone. Not counting the motherboards and the RAMs, but hey, at least the performance difference is going to be a lot more significant and you're probably going to use it for a long while. And that's the end of this video. For now, I'll see you guys again soon.